Hi, y'all. All right. So I told y'all I would be back. I decided to talk about Fani Willis. And, if you're not into politics, you probably hadn't heard about this. It's technically, it's technically a criminal case. So it goes along with true crime. But a lot of people at this point now have sort of looked at it. Hey, DB, a lot of people have sort of looked at it as a Trump thing. And the player on the big stage is actually someone who's actually not related to Trump at all. It is a attorney named Ashley Merchant, and she has it's really a convoluted, very confusing, kind of crazy situation. And if I could get this silly, there we go. Wait, what happened? I'm having all kinds of computer problems. Just bear with me. Wow, that is so many ads at one time. Okay, I'm gonna try to ignore all the ads. It's actually kind of a convoluted case. Um, to sort of simplify it before we watch this video that I've got to watch, that we'll call, what shall we call it? Shall we call it the government sermon, the sermon in the government, perhaps? Because Fani Willis, the district attorney in Fulton County in Georgia. Well, she says she's on a mission from God. Yes. In these prosecutions of people that were implicated in the J6 erection. Oops, did I say that? Insurrection. It's kind of bizarre that there have been an awful lot of like federal senators, representatives, television personalities who, for some reason, they keep calling it an erection rather than an insurrection. I don't know if they're doing it purposefully or they've all just kind of got their minds in the gutter, but nevertheless, it's confusing because I've been following this whole Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, Terrence Bradley. I've been following this whole saga closely. And it's now just reached a point of just redonkulousness. I mean, it has got, it's not very often that I use my favorite word, redonkulous. And we are now in redonkulous territory. So what we have come to, there's a lot to watch. There's testimony, multiple days of testimony. There's testimony that was given before the Georgia Senate and House. There's interviews that were given that should have really been, there, I guess, are considered improper. And then the one we're going to watch today is Fani in a church in Atlanta proclaiming to the congregation that God has put her on a mission to get Trump, quote unquote. All right. So it's kind of crazy. Now, one of the things that Ashley Merchant, who is the attorney not for Donald Trump, although Trump has an attorney in this case, but she is a attorney for another person who has been implicated in this January 6th insurrection. And her attorney, her defendant, her client's name is Michael Roman. Okay. And it's kind of interesting. I didn't really realize this until I was watching her testimony before the Georgia Senate. And I was really taken back. I kind of saw shades. Well, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, to make a long story short, they had this massive grand jury process. Nathan Wade did not file an oath, which is highly irregular. Some people have questions. He never should have really been in the grand jury, but he was. He's been at every proceeding related to the insurrection. And to make a long story short, I think if I remember correctly, maybe there were like 17 or 30 people that the grand jury in Atlanta said, we think you should prosecute these people. I think it was like 30 people. We think you should prosecute this many people. Ashley Merchant's client, Michael Roman, was not one of those people. He was not recommended by the grand jury to be prosecuted as a J6 insurrectionist, right? So that's number one. It's very curious why this obscure man somehow Fani, there was actually a meeting, and Fani said, well, we're not going to go after all these people, like 17 or 20 people. We're not going to go after them, but I do want to go after Michael Roman. And so it's kind of curious why she did the whole process with the grand jury, but then arbitrarily, improperly said, no, grand jury be damned. I want Michael Roman. So it's very odd. And so Ashley Merchant, long-standing defense attorney with history of prosecution, experience, whatnot, in Georgia, she gets hired by Michael Roman, and now she's sort of taken center stage in this legal drama where Fani Willis and Nathan Wade are front and center. Ashley Merchant she has presented evidence in a Georgia court of law and now to the Georgia Senate. She has presented evidence that has really blown Fani Willis and Nathan Wade's lives out of the water. We're talking about they are in danger of being removed not only from the prosecution of the J6 insurrectionist, but to be found incompetent, unethical, improper prosecution, and removed from the case that involves Donald Trump. Well, she is hell. Nathan Wade was a terrible witness on the stand. Fani has really not represented herself very well. She first said, no way in hell are you going to get me to get up on that witness stand and testify. And then as soon as Nathan Wade was finished basically giving the worst performance of his life, Fani Willis just comes running into the courtroom. She's out of breath. She's got a 3.5-inch heels on. She is looking good, but her dress is on backwards. And she says, nope, I'm testifying. I don't care what I said before. Get out of my way. I want on that witness stand. And then things just went from bad to worse. I mean, if you haven't watched it, we're gonna, okay? Maybe we'll watch it on Saturday. So this is something that I haven't seen, but I have heard referred to often as not only in Ashley Merchant's testimony to Georgia government, but also in the courtroom where they're trying to have Fani Willis Nathan Wade removed from this case. And they keep referring to the sermon that Fani Willis gave in this church and how improper it was and unethical it is. And it's an unmitigated disaster. And to be fair, in some way, she has not acknowledged this. Others have, but she has not. Terrence Bradley has. In some ways, she's sort of fighting for her life. Because if she actually is proven to have lied, committed perjury in the Georgia courtroom, If they find the $750,000, yeah, $750,000 that she approved for her boyfriend, Nathan Wade, then she could actually receive criminal charges. She could be disbarred. She could find herself in the cell right next to Donald Trump. So it's a disaster. I mean, just listening to me try to set this up and kind of tell y'all what it is, it's crazy, isn't it? Like the whole thing is just nutty as a fruitcake. So she's in trouble. She's in trouble. Nathan Wade's in trouble. Terrence Bradley has been in trouble. This is a very good lesson. This whole entire case is a very good lesson for all of us small business owners. Tend to your business. Make sure that you have a paper trail for your income coming in and your outlay of money, what you're paying. Don't commingle your funds. You need a specific business account versus personal account. Tend to your business. Otherwise, you run the risk of just looking foolish up on the witness stand as your life is blown up. So if she loses her law license, it's just a matter of time at that point. It'll be the beginning of the end for Fani Willis. So let's listen to the fated church sermon, where she reveals to the world that she's got a red hot phone line to God, and that Jesus Christ has sent her on a mission of biblical proportions. Yeah, I am kind of being snarky, but they claim she did say it. So let's see what this is all about, shall we? One, if you can hear this.
Some points I'll go to them, and at some points I'm just going to stray from them. But I hope y'all will be patient with me. The bishop told me I am welcome to be myself.
Be yourself, Fani.
This very historic house of God. How many of y'all know that's what
it's a very historic house of God.
There is literally no place in the world I'd rather be than right here with you today.
What about the condo with Nathan?
God always brings you to that safe place where you need to be. And so the invitation to come where God's message is taught, adhered to, and celebrated is my honor. I want to acknowledge and humbly thank, first of all, my Savior, Lord Jesus Christ, but also his humble servants, Bishop Jackson, Supervisor Christy Davis Jackson,
Esquire,
Presiding Elder Hudson, Reverend Dr. John Foster, Sister Mary Ann Foster, and Chairperson Carla Morrison, who didn't care what they said about her, told me the invite was still good. I hope for y'all this week I don't look like what I've been through.
she's the victim.
I want y'all to know I pulled out my most lavish $29.99 dress from Ross. And here I stand to talk to you this morning. See, that part's funny. That's not God. Now, I must warn you, if you are looking today, this morning, to hear from a perfect person, well, he was crucified and he died for your sins.
He is
Today,
incorrigible.
is his very flawed, hard-headed, and imperfect servant.
He literally.
And so I pray for him to.
He literally is saying that she and Jesus are the same.
Please use me this morning. Some people are in this place to hear the word of God. Others are here for other reasons, but my God got a way of making sure no matter why you came, you leave with his message. So the theme being celebrated today is, it starts with me. I want somebody to repeat that. It starts with me. Shifting the cultural climate through the study and practice of Dr. King's nonviolent philosophy. So I'm gonna start here. When I researched the history of this monumental church, 2 words just jumped off the page at me. And the words were this:
Jesus wept.
This church is built on faith and resilience. The hard-headed, flawed, imperfect servant before you is built and is being constantly chiseled on faith and resilience.
I'm Nathan Wade.
I smiled when I read the description. I knew God was telling me, I'm sending you where you need to be. I was invited here to give you a message, but yet my God does what he always does. He brought a message to me. He knew this child needed reminding. So I want to talk to you today about what it's required to be a soldier in this warfare. And that's what it is.
What's the warfare?
To shift the cultural climate. I must reveal to you a secret, though. Oh, wait for it. They want to know. The journey is ugly. The journey is painful. The journey is full of pitfalls. But if you are one of his children, you must answer the purpose. You must answer the call. Y'all don't hear me. You must answer the mandate. The question becomes, are you qualified? And it really comes down to this. How much are you personally willing to sacrifice?
What did you sacrifice,
for the greater
lady?
good and his purpose? How much? I want you to really sit and think about that question. How much are you willing to sacrifice for God's purpose?
Do you
see?
So this is the elected district attorney for Fulton County who is saying that the reason that she's a district attorney and the reason that she's interfering with an election, a federal election, is because God and Jesus has told her that, has put her in this path to for those millions of people whose favorite candidate is Trump versus millions of people whose candidate is Biden or somebody else, that God has picked her out special to interfere in the election of a man who's got millions of supporters, who has been raked over the coals, who has been ruined with charges that will not stand. And she's laying it all out that God told her to do this. Now, what's the biggest problem here? Realistically, what is it? The biggest problem is called separation of church and state. Oops, this district attorney completely forgot about that part of her oath. You can't use religion to hurt people. And the very fact that you're trying to interfere in an election, the very fact that you're making up charges against someone who you don't have a bit of evidence for in Georgia. There's evidence for other things, but not this thing in Georgia. What about separation of church and state, Fani? I don't get this. How can you do this? You're the district attorney. You understand how important this is, unless maybe what we're looking here is not someone with the red hotline to God. Maybe what we're seeing here is a woman in desperation, someone that was used knowingly to be sacrificed for the reelection of Joe Biden. She thought, aha, I've made it. It's the apex. I'm now going to be the poster child of the federal government. They love me. I'll be queen of the Democrat Party when I do this. That's what she thought was going to happen. You are watching the sacrificial lamb, is what you're watching.
I confess to you, as a little girl, I really did not think that Dr. Martin Luther King's dream would still be just a work in progress. I thought by 2024, as a 52-year-old woman, that certainly us humans would have gotten it together, that the cultural shift would have already taken place. I thought by now, well, we would all just be getting along. Boy, was I wrong. Now, right now, as much as any time in history, we need a cultural shift. As Americans have normalized, some of y'all say that with me, Americans have normalized.
I'm normal.
They've normalized cruelty. They've normalized bigotry. They've normalized hate. Many of our youth and adults have no respect for authority.
True. Yeah.
See, they criticize me for who my earthly father is and my heavenly one. Let me tell you about this earthly daddy of mine.
So you've been criticized as a Christian?
See, my father is one of the few Americans living who was actually able to meet and spend time with Dr. Martin Luther King. He's an older man now. Don't tell him I said it, y'all. And he's told me often, you see how now you look around and on every corner they have Dr. Martin Luther King's picture. And anywhere you go, they are celebrating Dr. King. He said, well, that's not how it was when he was here. Oh, we're going to tell the truth this morning. He tells me, you see, when Dr. King was here, I've seen him very hurt. My father's revealed to me, he's seen him in moments where Dr. King was saddened. He was saddened because people were cruel to him, unsupportive. Even some people he thought were naturally in his camp. He told me that there were those that were jealous. And he really took a lot of abuse. He says Dr. King was a great man, a prophet, he calls him. He said he was filled with good and kindness, and the only thing he wanted to do was make the world a more equitable place. He said Dr. King was not a perfect man, but he was a great man, willing to answer God's call. You all, this week at one point, because they told me I could be honest with y'all, I became so in need of my source. I stopped, and to tap in, I penned a letter to my Heavenly Father. I desperately needed to tap in to that one source. See, God knows my heart, my joys, my pains, my sins, my flaws. I am one of his hard-headed children, so he must get me together often. I'm telling the truth this morning. But see, in my life, I have experienced things that have taught me Jesus is the only source I can only rely on every time and all the time. I wondered if it was okay with you to share this letter I wrote this week to my God. But you are warned, it ain't the prettiest journey. And me and my God, we talk like regular folks.
But she owns God.
Dear Father in heaven, 4 years ago, you sent a godly woman to see me. She was different from me in so many ways. She was married to a wonderful man in law enforcement while I was out here real single, y'all. She was a mother. She was not yet a mother at the time, and I was raising two 20-year-olds, and I did say still raising. She was a different race than mine, and she was a Republican while I was a Democrat. Our commonality was we were both God-fearing women. But I must admit, God, she's much further in her journey than me with Christ. She explained to me, God, that you had spoken to her and told her to seek me out, and so she did. She said you had seen my heart, and you, Father, knew how I loved this county and my community. She provided me with the Bible and encouraged me to commit to reading it often. She said you revealed to her that if I promised to work hard, follow you, root out corruption at every level, you would give me the position of leadership I sought. I had no idea what her words meant. But in this beautiful lady, I saw Christ.
Is that Nikki Haley? Is she talking about Nikki Haley? What?
So I knew I was just going to obey. I don't think either of us at the time had an idea what I would inherit or gain as I became the DA. Lord, even right now, I continue to feel unworthy of the honor. A divorced single mom who doesn't belong to the right social groups, doesn't necessarily come from the right family, doesn't have the right pedigree. The assignment was just too high for lowly me. All I brought to the table, God, is my mind, my heart, my work ethic, my undying love for people and the community. Lord, you know my history. I'm still carrying childhood hurts. I struggled the entire time I raised my children. You remember when he left and it was just me and these two little girls figuring out how to get it done? God did not seem to care about my laundry list of shortcomings. He was not interested in my fear. So I obeyed. To be honored as the first DA, and who was a woman. Y'all hear me on that. Not a woman of color, just a woman. Will always be one of my greatest honors. I worked so hard for it so long, but I still humbly realize only 1% of the district attorneys in this country are women of color. Why should I, your lowly servant, get this honor? But then this job began. Wait a minute, God. You forgot to tell me there was more than 50,000 cases not closed. You left that detail out. Wait a minute, God. 18,000 unindicted cases going back 7 years? Wait a minute, God. The morale of the staff is in the toilet. And some of them are unqualified around here. God, you gotta be kidding. 7 of the highest profile cases in the United States gonna land right here? No, please make it stop. God, you forgot to mention that my life and the life of my family would be threatened so regularly. I now think it's not normal if I don't have 2 death threats a week.
Because she was taking on the game.
God, you did not tell me that people would call me the N-word more than they call me Fani. You did not tell me as a woman of color, it would not matter what I did. My motive, my talent, my ability, and my character would be constantly attacked. You did not tell me that the people would think they required of me perfection and flawless. God, why would you send this imperfect and very flawed woman to that position? God, you did not tell me my home would be swept multiple times for bombs. Or that most days and nights that I would spend them in isolation because that was the safest place to be. You forgot to mention, Lord, that I would have to abandon my home. You forgot to mention the loneliness of this position, and you certainly didn't tell me about this stress. God, I trust you.
God. Now, this woman is in a church, and you can listen to the cadence of her speech and the way that she talks. She is not a stranger to kind of that old Southern Baptist style of preacher, correct? I mean, she's doing a pretty good imitation. Somebody said a while ago, is she practicing to become a preacher when she's no longer a district attorney? I don't know. I mean, she's good, okay? But here's the problem. She's saying that she's having bomb threats and that she has to abandon her house and hide and how lonely it was, yada, yada. Well, the way the story actually is told by her bestie is that she, Fani, and Nathan Wade were having an affair. Nathan Wade was married to a woman and they were having an affair. And so she was paying her bestie to go over to her bestie's house to have meet-up playtime with Nathan Wade, a man who has received $750,000 of taxpayer money to prosecute Donald Trump and 16 other co-defendants. So they're meeting up at this house in this Ashley Merchant. She used GPS positioning and other things to prove that Nathan Wade was with her till like 4 a.m. And then they tracked his car. He left her condo, went home, and then as soon as he gets to the house, he calls her again. So Ashley Merchant, her researchers, they collected good information that, well, I guess we should say irrefutable information, evidence that would be very difficult to contest. And it was only after the evidence came out showing what she had collected and what they had that the story now changes. The story changed in mid drama, okay? And now to account for why she was at her best friend's condo, why Nathan Wade was at the best friend's condo, why it is that the money that she would pay to her friend every month was a different amount. So she will tell you now, oh, I was renting the condo from my best friend because I had to abandon my house because I was receiving death threats and I was paying rent to my best friend who owned the condo. The problem is that each month it was a completely different amount. Have you ever rented like that? My understanding is when you agree to sublet or you lease an apartment or a house, there's an agreement. This is what you owe per month or per week, not randomly different, unless you're sort of paying like by the hour or by the day. Yeah, I spent the night at your house over the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and this is what I owe you for the electricity that we used and the water we used, etc. So remember, when all of this started, there was no mention of her living at this house, none. There was no mention of all this drama. Then Ashley Merchant put the two together, Nathan Wade, who's taking all the taxpayer money, and Fani Willis, who's playing God, by the way, and appointing a man, allotting him $500 an hour, putting a limit on $3 million to prosecute a case. What? It's crazy. So once Ashley Merchant came out and had them together, now the whole cleanup stories have started. They are running behind these prosecutors, Ashley Merchant, the guy who's working for Trump, and other co-defendants. Now she and Nathan Wade are playing catch up, saying, well, that's where you got it wrong. That didn't happen. It wasn't that way. Let me tell you what really happened. Ashley Merchant's a liar. She lied in this filing, and she lied in this filing, and she lied in this filing. Liar, 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 liar. That it was the most astounding testimony I've ever seen. And now that we've seen the testimony, we've seen Ashley Merchant testify freely to the Congress. They've asked for clarification. The cameras are rolling. You can watch the whole kit and caboodle if you can keep your jaw up off the ground. And now we are watching this violation of church and state in a shocking display of, I don't know what we're going to call it. Biblical masturbation, maybe? I don't know what she thought she was doing here. She's definitely self-promoting, and maybe she's trying to shore up some votes based on her status as Christian or as a woman of color. She played the race card. She basically said that she and Jesus walked the same path of persecution. I don't know about you. For me to stand there and say that I'm like Jesus walking a path of persecution on this earth, I would be waiting for that lightning bolt. You know what I mean? And yet this woman acts with impunity. She speaks in a way that sensible people find unbelievable.
God, I thank you. God, I love you. I thank you for every tap that makes me stronger. See, I sit here with a peace that surpasses. Dear God, I do not want to be like those that attack me. I never want to be a Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has never met me, but has allowed her spirit to be filled with hate. How is this woman, who has the honor of being a leader in my state, how is it that she has not reached out to me? She can tell me, I don't agree with anything you're doing, but I do not agree with people threatening your life or the life of your family.
Agree.
That is conduct that is wrong and
absolutely.
And as a leader, I shall not stand for it.
No threat.
How did such a woman come to think that it was normal and normalized that another woman was worthy of such cruelty? I would never wish for her to have the experiences of the threats that I received, the derogatory name calling, the being doxxed multiple times. God, you never told me that on Christmas night 2023, that I would get an emergency call from Capers Green, my chief of investigations. The police are surrounding your house. A man has called 911 and he said he shot a woman in the head. I am headed there. You never told me the pure, unimaginable fear as I believe my oldest child was dead in my home. I cannot describe, God, for you the panic and the terror and the fear I had, believing my child was no longer with me. I thank you, Lord, that it all turned out to be a cruel hoax and just another day to steal my joy as I tried to celebrate you. God responds to his hard-headed trial. Pray for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Pray for the man's soul who called your house. God, wait a minute. I ain't there yet. I'm still in my walk with you. I'm just being honest.
You ain't dead yet? Why are you talking that way? You're an educated woman.
I ain't feeling it. God, do as I said, child. I am using her to grow you. Pray for her. I am using all of these experiences to fortify you. Flawed, hard-headed, imperfect me. Pray for her? Yes. But dear God, are you listening? Why does Commissioner Thorne and so many others question my decision in a special counsel? Lord, your flawed, hard-headed, and imperfect child, I'm a little confused. I appointed 3 special counsel, as is my right to do. Paid them all the same hourly
No, you
rate.
didn't. Lie.
They only tapped one.
That is a lie. She just said there's 3 special counsel that she appointed as God. 3 special counsel. 1 is a black guy. 2 are white guys. The black guy is making like $500 an hour. Maybe I've got that wrong. Maybe it's $250 an hour, but he's billing in 8-hour increments, and he seems to be working 24 hours a day. So that's a little weird and uncomfortable. He's literally billing for $2,000 a day. That's 24 hours at $250 an hour. Do you know anyone who doesn't sleep? I don't. So he's billing in 8-hour increments. It's crazy. Never seen an attorney do anything like that ever. $250 an hour. The other 2 guys appointed who are Caucasian attorneys, they're making like $50 or $70 an hour. And their total bill was something like, I don't know, $2,000, $5,000 total. To this point, Nathan Wade is billed for nearly $1 million. And the other 2 have paid like $2,000 or so. She just in the church, she literally lied, a bald-faced lie. They're all getting paid the same amount. So why are they only picking on Nathan Wade? Girl, you are in trouble now.
I hired one white woman, a good personal friend and great lawyer. A superstar, I tell you.
A super lawyer.
I hired one white man, brilliant, my friend, and a great lawyer. And I hired one black man, another superstar, a great friend, and a great lawyer.
And great in bed.
They're going to be mad when I call them out on this nonsense. First thing they say, oh, she going to play the race card now. But no, God, isn't it them who's playing the race card when they only question one? Isn't it them playing the race card when they constantly think, I need someone from some other jurisdiction in some other state to tell me how to do a job I've been doing almost 30 years.
Okay. So here's part of the corruption of our government, right? Both state government and federal government. They have learned, the parties, DNC, RNC, the individual politicians, regardless of what position they hold, they have learned these psychological mechanisms of influence, correct? So one of the one powerful mechanism of influence is hearing a message from a person who is accomplished. They have a higher level of education. They're holding an office of power and influence. That when those people speak, we tend to give them instant credibility. That when those people, high education, high position of power, when they talk to us, we naturally tend to believe that what they're saying is true. And I mean, think about it. We all get sick, go to the doctor, and the doctor tells us what's wrong, and we just go, "Thank you. Can I have my prescription?" And then we willingly take the medication because, after all, he or she is the doctor, and we trust their position, correct? Here's the problem now. You have a certain faction of politicians that have destroyed that adage. In fact, myself personally, I've reached a point that if one of these politicians says something, I don't believe them. I'm skeptical. I'm jaded. When I listen to Fox News or whatever, I don't believe what they're telling me. I think that what they're telling me, they're using the reputation of the station. They're using it as a tool of influence to get me to vote for who they want me to vote for, or to buy a product that they want me to buy. They have Taylor Swift out there telling people who they should vote for the president of the United States. Taylor Swift is a singer and a dancer. She has no knowledge, zero education on world economics. She doesn't know anything about political factors, historically antiquated political factors of the Ukraine and the southwestern border of Russia. She doesn't know anything about Vladimir Putin and the historical influences of his family and the way he grew up and his time in the government. She doesn't know anything about Hamas and Palestine and Israel. She doesn't know anything. Maybe she knows a little bit about what happened with John F. Kennedy because she watched Oliver Stone's movie, great movie, JFK, maybe. She knows nothing about the state of affairs of this entire world. She doesn't know anything about the state of affairs in this economy. She doesn't know anything about the state of affairs in terms of people accessing health care and using government benefits to stay alive. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. I can sing you every one of her songs, okay? But I'm voting the way she tells me to vote. I have a PhD, 4 master's degree. I've lived in multiple continents and multiple countries. I have had friends from every position that can give me their personal perspective on Israel, Hamas, and Lebanon, and how that political atmosphere played out over the decades. I'm going to make my political choices based on what I know, not, shake it off. I'm not letting a singer influence me. I'm going to look toward economists and what they're saying. I'm going to look toward investors and what they're saying about the world economy. I'm going to look toward both Democrats and Republican representatives and senators. I'm going to listen to all of it because somewhere in the mix will be a little truth. I don't think RNC is telling the truth. I don't think DNC is telling the truth. The reality is it's self-serving. The truth is interspersed in all of the BS. But nevertheless, they use people in positions of power, people that may have either they're very powerful and notable, Hollywood, or people with a high level of education. What were we told? Know the science, follow the science, remember the science, take the jab. Remember all that? Now we find out, well, the reason that a lot of these doctors and scientists that we have now that are showing you the results of their research, the reason we weren't seeing it earlier is because they were being silenced. I don't like politics. I don't like politicians. I don't like what they've done to the world. And so this idea that going up into a church and putting this in a letter to God to then turn around and bash Marjorie Taylor Greene. Come on, Fani. You really think you needed God in a pulpit to go after Marjorie Taylor Greene? No one likes Marjorie Taylor Greene. You didn't need to be in a special position of power to do that. Anybody would have listened to you, probably would have believed some of what you were saying. But this is very, in terms of the ethics and the professionalism, this right here, this Sermon on the Mount that she's got going on right here, she could lose her law license. I mean, this is the only thing that I can come up with that would, I mean, I think she's a really intelligent person. I have no doubt about that. I think that, she grew up in a very political home, and I think she's probably been trained well. So how does one explain the misstep of getting up in front of a church that's being recorded and send this type of message? I believe she's trying to retain voters, right? Trying to stop people from abandoning her. But nevertheless, there's so much legally and ethically wrong, just blatantly wrong. It's hard to understand what would have caused her to have such a lapse in judgment. How did she overlook the shocking nature of what she's doing? Unless she just thought, no way would any of my people put this recording out there. I don't know I don't know. It's my guess. I'm just saying that's one possibility. This is a mess. Like what she did here, ethically, maybe legally, this is a mess.
God, why don't they look at themselves and just be honest? I mean, can't they keep it 100 with themselves? Why are they so surprised that a diverse team that I assembled, your child, can accomplish extraordinary things? God, wasn't it them that attacked this lawyer of impeccable credentials? The black man I chose has been a judge more than 10 years, run a private practice more than 20, represented businesses in civil litigation.
Nathan Wade has not been a judge for 10, what'd she say, 10, 20 years. It was a magistrate. He got called in on the weekends if they had too many DWIs come in. She's completely misrepresenting the facts of this. I don't understand why she would do this, because it is so easy to go and find the facts. Yes, what she's saying is there, but the way she's presenting it turns it into either a lie of omission, or in some cases, an outright lie of commission, Like when she said that all three of the special prosecutors were getting paid the same amount of money, that is blatantly false. It's just 100% false. And this impeccably brilliant man he simply doesn't have the experience to do this particular type of case. He just doesn't have it. But she's saying that people are attacking him because he's Black. No, he's billing, Fani, in 8-hour blocks of time, unheard of, billing in 8-hour blocks of time, and he's billing 24 hours a day. He keeps 0 records. He claims that he gives her $4,000, $5,000, and then she turns around and pays him back. Where's the proof? Oh, it was all done in cash. We don't even have receipts where they withdrew money from their bank account or redeposited money when they got paid off. They don't even have that because now they claim they just leave money laying around in their house. Wherever Fani lays her head, these are her words. I'm not being funny. I don't find it funny. I find it shocking, actually. Her own words, wherever she lays her head, that's where she keeps all of this cash. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And yet she's doing it. This woman who is intelligent, well-trained, powerful. I don't know if it's desperation, panic. Maybe she's surprised that Washington, D.C. is not protecting her. Maybe she thought she was a made man in the whole, the mobster, talk. I don't know. It's shocking. It's shocking what she did. This is shocking. This is so much worse than I thought it was going to be.
I ain't done, y'all. Served as a prosecutor, a criminal defense lawyer, special assistant attorney general, won Chief Justice Robert Benham Award from the State Bar of Georgia. You know, they ain't just giving this to Black men. How come God, the same Black man I hired, was acceptable when a Republican in another county hired him and paid him twice the rate? Oh, y'all ain't hear me. In another county, the elected official has the authority to pay him twice the rate. Why is the white male Republican's judgment good enough, but the Black female Democrats not?
Because you're sleeping with the guy that's billing $750,000 from taxpayers.
Now, please hear me. I'm not criticizing his judgment. The people of his county elected him to make that decision. In fact, let me put it on the record. He's someone I respect because he was always willing to hire diversity. He was just looking for quality. I don't care political party. They care about it. My only question is, why is it question me? Now, I want to be clear. All 3 of these special counselors are superstars. But I'm just asking God, is it that some will never see a Black man as qualified, no matter his achievements? What more can one achieve? The other 2 have never been judges, but no one questions their credentials. I'm just saying,
Fani. I voted for Barack Obama. How many other white folks voted for Barack Obama? What do you mean no one's going to trust a Black man? We put him in the White House, not because of his skin color, but because people believed in Barack Obama. This is crazy what she's doing. This is crazy. This doesn't make sense. This is crazy.
question. Is it that I, because of the shell you chose to put me in, will never be qualified in their eyes to make the decisions the voters put me here to make? Lord, never mind your flawed, imperfect servant has composed a team that wins, and wins.
Yeah, they turned on you, Fani. They said you were breaking the
Never
law.
mind, Lord, that this leader has a trial conviction rate of 95%. Never mind, Lord, that the trial team this lawyer put together has a conviction rate of 95%. Never mind, Lord, that the appellate rate of my office is 96%. Never mind, Lord, that 400 plus children are touched by the programming that my staff put together to keep them out of gangs. Never mind, Lord, thousands of records of citizens in my counties have now been restricted so they can work and get home and return to being productive. Never mind, Lord, in 3 years I have cut the backlog by more than 50%. Never mind, Lord, in my community where in the rest of the country crime is down 5 or 7%, is down 20% here. Never mind, Lord, homicides are down in Atlanta by 21%. Is there something about me, Lord, that makes me still unqualified? God responds, child, pray for those. They can't see what I've qualified.
Crazy.
Wait, God. I'm gonna slow down here. It's your hard-headed child. I told you I don't want to pray for them. I am tired of being treated cruelly. Pray for them anyway, child. Pray for their hearts. Pray for their souls. I qualified you. I qualified your imperfect, flawed self. I saw you in every hour. Do my work. Ignore the distractions. Some of y'all may be familiar with my God that I serve. So I'm gonna stop a minute here. He's the same God that took Moses to that burning bush. How many of y'all know Moses had a speech impediment? That's the servant that God sent to give the greatest messaging of all time. Let my people go. God must like hard-headed children because Moses told him, you know I got a speech impediment, right? And who am lowly me to go do that? He said, go tell him the great I am sent you. How many of y'all know God will use regular, ordinary folks to do extraordinary things? Let me say that for y'all again. How many of you all know the God I serve will use ordinary folks to do extraordinary things?
True. Absolutely.
God will see all your mistakes, all your flaws, and still choose you to serve. So God told me, I know you're tired of your circumstances, but I'm preparing you. The road ahead of you has some dark days and some bright days. So ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday, I was at a very low point, really tired of all the pain that people cause. So weary of hearing mothers come in talking about their children being hurt or worse, lives taken from them. That pain, I'm somebody who just takes it on. And it got a little heavy on Thursday. Tired of the 14-hour days. If I can be honest with you, tired of the isolation, the loneliness, the backstabbing. Tired of all of it. But then my on-time God showed up, as he always does. A lady I love and respect, but had not seen in more than 2 years, randomly came by the office. I don't stop and take lunch, y'all. I don't have no time in my day. But somehow God miraculously cleared my schedule for 40 minutes. Appointments canceled and open up. So I could spend 40 quality minutes.
Well, she did, in fact, spend an entire year going on cruises or going overseas, like to Belize or whatever, just about every 4 to 6 weeks, $3,000-4,000 each vacation. Do you get to vacation to the tune of $25,000 in 1 year? I don't. It sounds like she's got time off somehow or other.
With this lady. She was another leader. She brought me her testimony of the 2 last awful years. And I'm going to tell you, I felt ashamed because I was so caught up in my own world. I didn't know what my friend had been through. She told me of a cheating husband and a divorce that had taken place. She talked to me about cancer that entered her body and almost took her out of this place. She talked to me about family trauma and of a child trying to commit suicide. Lord, she told me she was mad with you. The position of authority she had, she really didn't want, but she took it because you told her to, and she had been obedient. And so she wanted to know, how could I be obedient, Lord, and you take me through this last 2 years I've had? She said, Lord, you said you would perfect me. You would perfect the things concerning me. My husband left me. My body became sick. My children suffer. My finances are in the toilet. This is far from perfect. The Lord said to her, when I told you to devote yourself to me, I will perfect you. You heard it in your human ears. You heard that meant I would make things easy and perfect. I did not mean that things would be easy as you heard it. She said she then looked at the biblical interpretation. When the verse says the Lord will perfect that which concerns you, it literally means he will complete it. How many of you all know my friend's random visit was not random at all? And once again, the Lord was talking to his hard-headed child. When the Lord was saying he would perfect me, the things concerning me, he was telling me he would use me to complete it. So I'm here to tell you something, and it may make some of y'all a little uncomfortable. God's using ordinary people to do extraordinary things. I come real regular. In fact, when I meet people, that's what they say. Real regular. You don't have no airs about yourself. And I say, well, how can I? I come from regular folk. I ain't got no pedigree. I'm not a member of any of those elite organizations. And one more thing, I'm as flawed as they come. But there is something special about me. It's my willingness to love people. I love people of every political party, different viewpoints, different races, different sexualities. And one thing you will come to learn about me is I make sure everyone else is good, and sometimes I'm not.
Oh my God. Goodness, thank you.
See, Dr. King was an extremely special, brilliant, godly man, but he was just a man. And his journey was full of mistakes, pitfalls, pain, and ugliness. Despite all of that, He overcame those things and he changed the entire world. See, I know we are at a time of history when they want to throw away books and not talk about history. Some of y'all may have forgotten when Dr. King was alive, he was attacked for his stance on the Vietnam War. Some of y'all might have forgotten that scandal the FBI tried to do on personal indiscretions they alleged. Some of y'all forgot that. But now that same FBI will take a day off to celebrate Dr. King because my Lord and Savior will make him your footstool. All the glory I receive, it's his grace, not a perfect me. We are at a time in history, people. Hear me on this. We are at a time in history when you can no longer sit back and just let other folks do it. You cannot expect Black women to be perfect and save the world. The Lord is completing us. We are not perfect. We need your prayers. We need to be allowed to stumble. We need grace. With that kind of support, we will move mountains and do Jesus's will. Stumbling.
So is it just the Black women, or is this all women, or is this all people? I don't understand. This is improper.
All the way. So his flawed, hard-headed, and imperfect child has a message for each of you today. Please find a way to do your extraordinary, God-given assignment and make this community and the world a better place for all of his people. See, it is never about who you are. It is always about the great I am and who he is.
Okay, I'm sorry. No. Didn't she just finish like telling us over and over and over about her greatness, okay. Enough of that. Okay. So that was pretty shocking. That was wow. So I did not. So she is an elected official who is really in hot water, and she's made some serious missteps legally. And she has been courageous in combating the gang warfare that Atlanta is dealing with. So the good with the bad, like an honest picture of the whole thing. I think what is sad about this, she made some classic mistakes, Very often people that are not accustomed to having a lot of power, they can find themselves in positions of power where they make poor choices because they start believing that they themselves have no boss. And the reality is we all have a boss in its own way. For her, perhaps, maybe the boss is the voter. For her, perhaps the boss is her family and friends' judgment. For her, perhaps the boss is, the prosecuting attorney that's coming for her. There is no one that is above some level of oversight. Sometimes we have to oversee ourselves. But I think she fell into that age-old problem that she fell in love. She was doing good for her city and her state. And she thought, hey, it's just a man. I can go with him. I can go on vacation. We can have these fun times together. And she just overlooked, she just forgot, wait a minute, I'm sleeping with a guy that I just gave 750,000 of a taxpayer money to. And that opens me wide open to prying eyes. So it's kind of sad, really. It's sad that she achieved a very powerful position and did a lot of good work for the people of Atlanta, and let her hate perhaps of Donald Trump. Maybe that's what I definitely think she fell in love. That skewed her view of things. I also think she took a couple of meetings in Washington, D.C. at the Biden White House. And you do have to ask yourself, was she chosen by the DNC, by perhaps even President Biden himself? Was she chosen as the sacrificial lamb for her to go after Trump, to try to tear down his support so that Joe Biden doesn't have to face Trump in the general election? Is that what happened? Because these charges, this thing that has happened in Atlanta, even in New York, it's not going to stand. It won't. It maybe in the short term, and people get scared and they say, well, I don't want to vote for him, we don't know what's going to happen legally. But at this point, Supreme Court has stepped in and said, we're not doing this. And it's almost, I get this feeling that this woman who's very accomplished and intelligent and in a position of great power, it's almost like she was tricked. Maybe she thought she had this support, and it looks like they've abandoned her now. It really does. So she made some foolish choices financially. She turned on some friends that then stuck the knife in her back. And then this thing at the church is just beyond, it's just, you can't understand it. It just, anyway, we'll see. I really don't wish her poor. I hope, I don't know how it turns out, because the reality is this. I think that unscrupulous people have brought charges against Donald Trump as a punishment, as an example to other people of influence and power, to say, don't go against the deep state, don't go against the establishment, because we will ruin you. And it never wavered. Nobody believes them anymore. Nobody has trust in the federal government. People certainly don't really believe in the FBI anymore. I'm talking about in general. I don't mean individual agents, but it just seems like they've been playing politics for a long time. For example, January 6th committee, Donald Trump is guilty of inciting insurrection. Okay, well, I can accept all that. So why did you destroy all the evidence? That's very odd. Wouldn't you want to keep all that evidence for potential future prosecution? But they did. They destroyed it, just like they destroyed the telephones that proved the servers and the emails from Hillary Clinton. Literally, the FBI showed them, Hillary Clinton's people, how to take hammers and beat the phones up so that they can no longer be used as evidence. Doesn't that seem an odd thing to do for a law enforcement, the greatest law enforcement agency in the land? Actually, it's so hard to understand. But here we are. Politics. You are very powerful if you're at the top of the food chain in politics. Money is just about unlimited. It shouldn't be, but in politics, you are. Money is. And we've gotten to a bad place now, I think. I think we're at the tipping point, and we need to get back to the politics of one. How can I get mine? How do I get my power, my millions, me? people really need to move away from that and really give some thought to what we're leaving for our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren. The financial decisions that are being made are unsustainable at this point now. As of 2030, this country will be done because of the bankruptcy of the United States government. We're in trouble because of the politics of one. Me, I. Danny boy. Oh, Dan Crenshaw. He's a corrupt, horrible person, in my opinion only. He was elected by Texans, my friends and neighbors. I voted for him. And it took him exactly 3 seconds to get to Washington, D.C., to take their money, their bribes, and to become the worst rhino up there. I mean, really, you've never seen anything like it. So now, magically, he won his election, his primary on Super Tuesday. But gosh, only 6% of the previous number of votes for our area, only 6% of people voted. Where did all of those ballots go? Because everybody I know voted, and none of them voted for Dan Crenshaw. It's almost like those votes that went to people that were against Dan Crenshaw. It's almost like those ballots got destroyed. 6%? When everything else was like right on target with 2020? Weird. It's weird. So I don't know if they cheated. There are attorneys and law enforcement that are dealing with that, but sure seems suspect. Seems sus to us. All right. Okay. So I'm done. Yes, Vicki, it's craziness. Dirty, nasty politics. And we got to do better. We got to, I legitimately think that like Rand Paul, I think he really cares. I voted for Barack Obama because I believed, now I think I was wrong, but back then I believed he was a Washington outsider. I believed that he would be different, that he would care about the country, the people, the jobs, the economy. I believed he was not, a snake. And he is. So I don't know if these are good people that go, and then being in DC, they become corrupted. If that's the case, then my question is why? What's wrong that you can't have principles? And when you are approached, when somebody tries to buy you, say no. Carrie Lake did it. And I don't mind saying this. Sorry, Carrie, just telling the truth here. I didn't like Carrie Lake. I didn't know what all the hubbub was about her. She wasn't my first choice. But when I heard the recording of them buying her out, you have a blank ticket. All we're asking is for you to wait 2 years, go away quietly, let this year stand. We're going to do what we're going to do. People back east. That's what the guy kept saying. People back east. Carrie Lake said, no, it's now. This isn't about me. It's not about you. It's about our country. And we are in deep trouble. It is about now. And she wouldn't take their money. It was unbelievable to listen to that recording. We need more of those people. We really do. And they're out there. I like JFK Jr. A lot of people are like, oh my God, he's a nut. But I think he cares about the country. And that's kind of that's now, I figure if somebody really loves their kids and they really love their family and they really are smart enough to understand that what we do today has ramifications for what happens in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, then I think there are good people out there. And I think JFK Jr. does care about what happens to the country. So, we're in weird times, y'all. It's weird. But anyway, this is shocking. I'm glad I watched it with y'all. This was the first time I'd heard them talk about it in court and whatnot, but I had not listened to it. And it was as bad as they said it was. What do you think? So were y'all shocked that she did this, that she commingled her faith with a public sermon about her greatness and politics? Are you surprised she did it, or did you think that it was just okay that she did that? So I'm going to read a couple of comments and then we will be finished. 2020 in the middle of the night was sketch, in my opinion. Better not express opinions. You could end up on a list, Jen Madison. DB, I respect RFK Jr. I hadn't listened to the sermon either. It's pretty amazing. I think what's amazing to me, number one, she'd be a great preacher, no doubt about it. But I think what is so amazing to me is the lack of self-awareness. Did it not occur to her that separation of church and state, it's a thing? It's a real thing. So it's odd. It was strange that she made this decision. It seemed uncharacteristic of Fani Willis. So pride comes before the fall. Yes, it does. She's mixing her religious beliefs with Black woman empowerment. She's being persecuted because of the color of her skin and that she's a woman. And Jesus was persecuted. And so she makes this parallel that she knows Jesus's plight. It's just weird. It's just weird. All right. Just the women in her church, evidently. Doesn't feel healing. It feels divisive. I can see people identifying with it, yet not helpful when representing constituents from all backgrounds. Yeah, it wasn't good. Wasn't good. I thought it was. I think she was manipulating voters, is what I thought. Personally, I wouldn't care who this was speaking. I couldn't stay and listen. It feels too manipulative. There you go. You just said what I said. Very manipulative. Fluffing the voters. Mm-hmm. All right. Dust off the segregated water fountain. She's going to send us back in time. That's the thing they said was something about burning the books or not telling the story of history or something. But I mean, I don't know why she's saying that. The Democrat Party has been incredibly busy destroying works of art and books and things like that. It was an easily argued sermon. She said things that were categorically wrong, like that she hired 3 people, 2 white people, 1 Black guy, and they're all paid exactly the same amount, and the Black guy's being persecuted. She totally said the wrong thing. She's saying that the color of skin is the reason why he's attracted this attention. She totally overlooks the fact that he billed for 24 hours a day of work at $250 an hour when the 2 counterparts, the 2 white folks, were getting paid like $50 an hour. I think it was $150 an hour. And then that she's sleeping with the guy since 2019. She totally misrepresented the facts. So, I think on Saturday, if y'all are interested, we can go through and watch Ashley Merchant testifying before Georgia Senate. That was pretty interesting. And then if you watch that and you go back then and you rewatch the court testimony, then you're just like, girl, what were you thinking? It's very shocking. It's a pretty we're in some extraordinary political times. I mean, there's other things too, economically and culturally, socially, international relations are, did y'all know that Vladimir Putin and Xi, did you know they're fighting? Russia and China now are about to get into a fight together. I mean, the world is a wreck when you don't have that stabilizing power of the United States. Things are very, very bad. So, all right, but not here on the streets of YouTube. On YouTube, we are having fun. All right, I gotta go. I will return. And I am going to be really focusing hard on the case of Madeline Soto. If you guys have not watched the live that I did today, you might want to go watch it. I'm probably going to make it a members only eventually. For sure, this one is going to become a members only just because it's political. I don't usually talk politics, but there were a lot of legal implications in this. It's a very real court case that's going on right now. The judge currently has the case. He was given, I think he took it Tuesday. I think he got it on Tuesday. And he said, no, maybe it was last Thursday. And he said, give him 14 days, give him 2 weeks for his decision. And so it's just huge. And a lot of people don't even know what's going on, but it's huge. So, all right. I hope you guys have a great evening. I'll be, trying to find information on Madeline Soto. I'm sure T-Rev. I'm sure he'll have some stuff. He always does a good live. I love Allegedly with Brittany J's lives. The conversations, and everything are great. So I'll be around, right? I hope to see you guys. And y'all are so sweet for being here. Thank you. Because it's definitely not our normal. A lot of people, I think, have sort of shied away from this court case. I think they're a little nervous about it. Nate, the lawyer, he is a great YouTube creator. He is an attorney, and he has a YouTube channel. He is following this case closely. So mods, if y'all want to get the link to Nate, the lawyer, that is a very good way to catch up on the case and kind of learn the legal aspects of it. Yeah, he's awesome. Nate the lawyer is great. He's doing so. He's really been forthright, to talk about the case. I think a lot of people are a little scared of it because it's political. There's some racial overtones now. That Fani introduced. Nobody else introduced it. She did. So, but it's an important case. It is incredibly important because what they did was it was so corrupt. You can't take your boyfriend who's married to another woman and give him $750,000 of taxpayer money. Can't do it. You can't bill in 8-hour increments. Can't do it. You can't claim to work 24 hours a day for 30 days straight. That is a lie. So go watch Nate the lawyer. He's covering it very well. It's really something. All right. Y'all are great. Thank you for being here. Thank you for overlooking my tired visage. I am exhausted and I look exhausted. So I'm going to end this and then I am going to go to bed and I'm going to watch T-Rev or Brittany J or Criminality. And I'll see you guys not tomorrow, but on Saturday. All right. You guys thank you, Callie girls. Good to see you. Thank y'all, everybody. Please hit the thumbs up if you will, and subscribe if you have not. And be sure to stop by on Saturday. We are going to be talking about more Madeline Soto information. All righty. Y'all have a great evening.